Can you describe a memorable moment from your Paralympic experience?
Um, One of them that I really liked. So in the T36 category that I compete in, no one up until 2021, no one in my category on their record had ever run the 10,000 meters on either the male or the female side. Um, and we were coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. I had kind of been training with this distance running coach in Seattle. We figured, why don't I take a crack at the 10,000 and see what happens. So I did a 10,000 meter race in 2021, and at that point I became the first athlete, male or female, in my category to ever complete that distance, and that became the number one world best time in the world for that year for that category, and I finished it in 52 minutes 45.9 seconds. It's also still the at that time it was the Move United U.S. record, and that was the first time a record had ever been put on their books also for that distance and that classification. And so once all of this had been processed through the IPC system, the World Para Athletics system, it became evident that I could contend for a world record at this distance. As long as I improved the record, I would be able to have it. So I fell in with Bruce Deacon, a former Canadian Olympian, more so at the longer distances, and we planned a world record attempt in 2022, March 5th, 2022. And Bruce Deacon, I was still at UBC at the time, and Bruce Deacon, who's pretty well connected to the University of Victoria in Victoria, British Columbia, he paced me for all 25 laps of that 10,000, and we ran 49. I ran 49 minutes 10.04 seconds, and that is still the official men's T36 10,000 meter world record. There's a couple guys around the United States who are eyeballing it right now, but perhaps for after their Paralympic careers have turned away from the sprints. But for right now, I think that record is going to stand pretty strong for at least a few more years. So I'm grateful that I did that, and that I was able to. And another thing, I've been on two Pan American Games teams representing the United States, which incorporates athletes from North, Central, and South America and the Caribbean islands. And in 2023, I was kind of on a knife edge with respect to making the team, because I was right on the bubble between making the team and not making the team, and I was on the alternates list. And then another athlete dropped off of the team. He decided he didn't want to do it or something. I don't know the exact reason, but either way, he dropped off, and I was the next guy to be picked. And so, like, by the smallest of margins you can imagine, I made the team, and it was just like, just it was like something out of a movie. It was a victory for me, and I knew that there were people on that team who were better than me, who had more experience, who were maybe heavier hitters in the space. But for me personally, like, that was a huge victory for me to be able to make that team and to be selected for it. And I just had such a blast. Like, I was a finalist in 2023 at the 100 and 400. I came top 6 in the 400, and I came top 7 in the 100, and I just had a total blast out there and just had so much fun, and it made me want to continue doing the sport for longer. Like, when you're out there and your family's cheering for you, and men and women from Santiago, Chile are cheering from you, and school kids are cheering from you like this is something really special, and it just makes me that much motivated to keep grinding, to keep going, to keep pursuing, to keep proving that I can be something in this space. I do hope one day to reach the Paralympic Games, but even if I don't, I've gotten so much out of being a part of this, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So that's what I would say. Yeah, so just continuing on with question 6 here a little bit, there were some additional competitions I wanted to draw attention to. As part of my experience competing as an athlete with disabilities, I was also integrated onto the able-bodied collegiate varsity team at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. Now, it was a Canadian program, which most sports in that school competed in U Sports, which is university sports and the Canadian equivalent of the NCAA. Track and field opted to compete within the NAIA, the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, which in many ways is considered by some people to be the NCAA's little brother. It's roughly equivalent to about a Division II programming level. And so through being at UBC, I got to do a lot of really exciting competitions within Canada. We had a home opener meet every year that we did at the Rash Paul Dillon Track and Field Oval. It drew varsity athletes and club athletes from all around British Columbia, from the neighboring provinces, from Washington State. Like, this was quite a good way to start the season. And we would go over the border a lot too, down to Washington, and do meets in Washington State, which is where I'm from. So we did some meets at the University of Washington and Western Washington University. And we even went further south and we did competitions in California, like Mount Sac, and we did at a training camp each year in Arizona at the University of Arizona's Roy P. Drakeman Stadium. And that was a lot of fun. That training camp was a lot of fun. We'd put up for like 10 days at the University of Arizona's facility, and we'd train like professionals, and we'd train hard, and we'd have maybe sometimes multiple sessions a day, and we'd go hard at it multiple times. In between, we would hang out with each other and eat good food and shop and see the areas. So that was a lot of fun, that trip. I also was able to compete at the Cascade Collegiate Conference Championships, which within the NAIA is one step beneath the able-bodied national championships, meaning that I had the opportunity to compete against able-bodied sprinters in the collegiate setting, and that was a lot of fun. Another competition I got to do multiple times now was the United States Paralympic Team Trials. I ran at that in 2021, where I won gold in my classification, 100 meters and 400 meters. But I wasn't selected for the team because the time I ran was not just wasn't quite fast enough to make it. And then I ran representing the University of Michigan at this most recent Paralympic Team Trials in Miramar, Florida. And I wasn't able to make the team, but we did win the 4x1, the University of Michigan, and I got bronze in the 100 and 400 and a silver in the long jump. So those are some of my favorite competitions, and I've just met so many great people doing this thing, that really the relationships that I have with my teammates from British Columbia, from the U.S. team, from the University of Michigan, from my high school team, from my running clubs, like it's all been really valuable and important. Another thing that I have going right now is that I'm sponsored by 2 athletic companies. One of them is called Team Silverback, and it's based out of Loughborough in the United Kingdom. It's an elite strength and conditioning coaching company, and I was signed in 2023 as one of their official sponsored athletes. They do a lot of activations on social media, a lot of videos with advice about how to train, how to eat properly, how to hydrate, how to have good nutrition. And that company was founded in 2016 by Tom Powell. I do a lot of social media posts and sports management related documents for them. And then I also represent Vital Apparel as a social media ambassador. Now, Vital Apparel is a company that was founded in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they currently use they create these clothing items that are inspired by an intersection between mental health and mental wellness and physical fitness and weight training. And so being a part of these companies has just meant an awful lot to me. I always dreamed of one day being a sponsored athlete for someone, and these experiences have been really valuable in that respect. So I'm excited to continue to keep making strides with these companies. And I want to say that in general, the sponsorship, the ability of para athletes to be sponsored has really shot up quite a bit since, probably about 2018 or so. It just really blossomed in a lot of ways. So I definitely appreciate representing these companies, and I recommend that every athlete, if you're able to, give it a try, reach out to athletic companies. A lot of them are looking for ambassadors or athletes to rep their brand, so you never know what you might find.